and the legacy of racism, in America was still very current. So the goal was, as a black community, to be able to take care of itself, not spend all of its energy defending against adversaries, to avoid the militarization of the police, and to create a sustainable foundation for its children. So one of the most interesting things about the Black Panther Party is that the average age of a party member was about 20 years old. Fantastically young when you think about the demographics of today. And a lot of the work, more than half of the day-to-day hands-on work of the Black Panther Party, was performed by women. And one of the most important and famous things it did was to start its own education and food program for children. They were so successful through their dedication to the children that their way of taking care of children actually became the foundation of a nationwide child care program, which is still in effect today. So the Panthers and their 10-point plan, their earlier successes, and their absolute commitment to anti-discriminatory society is a lot of the culture and the legacy of Oakland. Systematically, however, the mass media, the Federal Bureau of Investigation, and antagonistic wealthy parties have routinely provoked and demonized and deteriorated Oakland, both in terms of its physical capacities and its entrees into upwardly mobile social systems and institutions. The Department of Transportation and the U.S. Postal Service literally took over enormous amounts of Oakland territory to build new buildings, such as a gigantic post office, a central post office, and 3 separate superhighways. Oakland was lacerated if it wasn't crushed.
And in the process, they displaced thousands of people.
Thousands of people. They completely undermined the opportunity for local businesses to have normal commercial traffic. And there was no investment plan whatsoever to relocate and revitalize the displaced people.
And did that begin in the 1950s, these mass transit?
You can see it happening in the
projects?
50s. Yeah.
Do you think the Black Panthers formed partly in response to what the government and wealthy people were doing to
No
Oakland?
question about it.
To West Oakland in particular.
Right. So today you can still see surviving buildings where the Panthers had food programs that were innovative and successful, where they had branch headquarters to have social interaction and meetings and to teach. They generated an enormous amount of art as part of their communications campaigns. Ultimately, they decided that they needed to run for offices so that they weren't constantly trying to get a step forward outside of the system and try to change from within the system. So again, for me to come into Oakland from outside of it and just have, an around-the-clock experience of living and working in Oakland and in the other environments of Oakland was a shocking contrast to expectations that, were continually being cultivated about Oakland, from the outside. As a photographer, I have an opportunity to create things that has a special kind of flexibility in that the normal range of a competent photographer could include photojournalism, advertising, history, really a very significant number of different occupational focuses and ways to contribute through visual communication. And so in my career, I've done most of those things at one time or another. When I shoot in Oakland today, I'm not really forced to choose to be one kind of photographer or another. And I've been at it for decades now, so that all of the different experiences that I've had, if I was working as a documentarian or working as a designer or working as a fine artist, they all have had time to cross-fertilize. And the way that I've been able to have them settle into a consistent kind of practice as a photographer is by embracing landscape or cityscape, I guess lots of people would say. And what I'm looking for in doing cityscape or landscape is to build a portrayal of the environment that demonstrates the creativity of the people who live here, who are native, many of whom are in marginalized communities where more people who are in or around the area that have more privilege see them as something that needs to go away or something that needs to be ignored. This means that a significant part of the population intentionally avoids any evolution in their understanding and appreciation of another very significant part of the population here. So the conflict is very structural. But as I continue to create images of Oakland, which emphasize the ability and the desire of vernacular, I call it, populations to elevate themselves and reclaim their environment through their own creativity. What I'm really zeroing in on is a spiritual foundation to Oakland's culture. And it's not something that I believe any one dramatic picture, can convey. It's really an accumulation of imagery over a long period of time to show that this creative energy that's already in the city and in the communities is constantly active. Sometimes, however, it's forced into recovering things or repairing things. Other times, it has the opportunity to invent. And there's a lot of space in between, which can be basically communicating with each other and with other communities in such a way that hopefully will inspire appreciation, but also generate an authentic cooperation, which is an absolutely critical part of any notion of inclusiveness in this urban center.